We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
The media is all systems go in bringing us the latest news from the Ukraine-Russia conflict. All well and good, we might think. It is, after all, an opportunity for the Fourth Estate to regain some of its lost credibility. And yet, the not-so-subtle signs of spin and narrative are still there, permeating what should be straight and balanced news reportage. It seems the denizens of the popular press are unwilling to let a good crisis go to waste. And what better opportunity to take the former President Trump down a notch or two than to lay blame for gas prices and even the war in Ukraine at his feet. Welcome to Liberty Nation Radio, here on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Angelides. On today's show, we'll talk media spin, asymmetric warfare, sort fact from fiction on the gas price frenzy, and delve deep into the important legal cases of the week. I want to take a moment to say a special thank you to our listeners in Kinnear, Alaska on KSRM 920 AM and 92.5 FM. Thanks for being here. And remember, this show is proudly sponsored by LibertyNation.com, where you can access podcasts, breaking news, analysis, and a range of biting and brilliant shows to whet your appetite for freedom and your fondness for the great American Constitution. Fear not, all of your present travails are the fault of either Vladimir Putin or, if that can't be spun, Donald J. Trump, at least according to today's legacy media machine. If you're to believe the pages and protests of the Fourth Estate, former President Trump basically caused the whole Ukraine debacle single-handedly, and not a jot of blame should be directed at Joe Biden. Now, quite how the American press got themselves into this state of cognitive dissonance can be answered. And to do so, we're joined by Liberty Nation's very own editor-in-chief, Lisa K. Donner. Thanks for being here, Lisa.
Hi, Mark. Good to be here.
Now, Lisa, this sounds preposterous, but the media really is blaming both the war in Ukraine and the gas prices on President Trump. How do they square this circle?
Well, just yesterday, Joe Biden said, well, the gas prices at the pump are Putin's fault. They're Russians' fault. And
Putin's price hike.
Yeah. And Putin is the one on day one, January 20th, a year ago, decided to stroke away the Keystone Pipeline with a pen. Everything is, what bothers me, Mark, increasingly is everything seems to be someone else's fault. So there's a massive misinformation campaign, I should say, disinformation campaign against Trump over the Ukraine-Russian war. And the media are solidly behind it. They are dying to pin this on Donald Trump, and it's kind of odd, just the same way Biden was trying to pin the oil prices on Putin. It's almost as if the president of the United States is this feckless guy just blowing in the wind, one way or another, depending on, world happenings or on a former president. It really is disturbing.
Yeah, we had, I'm reminded of a tweet that now President Biden put out a while back, and it was that he would take responsibility for everything that happened because that was the job of a president. Now, it was clearly a knock at Donald Trump is how he meant it. But this is really, this old tweet has resurfaced on the internet and is doing the rounds for every left-leaning news outlet puts, it's Putin's fault, it's Donald Trump's fault. And then people are just posting this screenshot of Joe Biden's I take responsibility because that's what a president should do tweet. Now, let's play a little pop psychology 101, Lisa, because I know you do enjoy that. So what happened to the Fourth Estate and the left?
Well, it's really incredible because apparently Donald Trump went on a podcast with Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. I believe it was a podcast. Anyway, Trump was sarcastic, as he often is, as many of us are. And, he called the Putin's moving into Ukraine pure genius and, oh, that's wonderful. And of course, as the media wants to do, they took it completely out of context. They're saying that, Trump backs Putin. And it was one publication after another. And it occurred to me that, are we dealing with the psychological behavior known as projection? In other words, it's a defensive mechanism. You're not willing to say, this is my problem, so you put it on someone else. So this is really taking something that you were responsible for, but you project it onto someone else. Your feelings, your thoughts, your tendencies, your fears, and what Biden and company and his advocacy media are doing are blaming Donald Trump for the Ukraine war. And it's really kind of crazy. I mean, everything from HuffPost to Yahoo News, there's headlines. Trump praises Putin's genius incursion into Ukraine. Trump praised Putin's genius for invading Ukraine. It's headline after headline.
It is. It's so disingenuous as well that they won't grant him the right to be sarcastic. When Peter Doocy asked about is inflation ahead of the midterms a good thing, and Joe Biden says, yeah, inflation, that's a brilliant idea. They knew he was being sarcastic because it was obvious, but they won't grant Trump that same leeway to understand that he was being sarcastic also, which he very clearly was.
And to make matters worse, what you have is the kind of, I call them fringe Republicans. There's a group called the Republican Accountability Project. I wrote about them. They bought ad time on Tucker Carlson's show, and they spliced together all of this business to make it, and this is, of course, the Republican Accountability Project is run by people like Bill Kristol and, former workers for Jeb Bush. But, anyway, they cleverly spliced together different comments by Trump to make it appear that he's praising Putin, that Donald Trump was Putin's best friend and right-hand man. It really is kind of sick, and it reminds me of that comment that is often quoted. Vladimir Lenin said, a lie told often enough becomes the truth.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, is this just or really just a plot to try and give Joe Biden a pass on his own failings, and with him, obviously, the rest of the administration? Or is it more to do with, do you think, crafting a narrative to crush the GOP come the November congressional elections?
Unlike the left, I like to think that I have the ability to do two-step thinking. So let's just say it's both. That
was the third option, yeah.
Why can't they be doing both? A good offense is a good defense kind of thing, or a good defense is a good offense, I guess is the saying. Take Trump out as much as you can because they're terrified of him coming down the track in 2024, and they should be. I was just listening this morning, and someone was saying gas prices are up 50% from last year. I mean, it's almost staggering to imagine how you can ruin a country this fast.
Now, is this campaign against the 45th president, is it a way to try and convince folks that their vote for Biden was a smart move, when the polling actually shows that a large number of the voting public, they're suffering from what I like to call Biden's buyer's remorse, or caveat emptor Biden?
I have to think, Mark, that they're scrambling. The price at the pumps have historically transferred to votes, and how well or how poorly a candidate or a party is doing based on inflation, the economy. He's got everything kind of going against him, and he's really in a tight spot. So again, the blame game. I expect to hear in the next couple of days that, well, Americans are spoiled. Europeans are used to paying $7 at the pump. It's the same thing as big meat. How dare us? And then it comes down to ExxonMobil and Shell, and everybody's trying to rip us off.
So, Lisa, final question for you: where do you think this is going to finish?
Well, I think this is unacceptable for the American public. There are millions of Americans that are praying for Ukraine, and we certainly don't want to see that country just decimated. At the same time, it's people who work paycheck to paycheck that are really going to be hit the hardest. When it costs over $100 to fill up your tank of gas, when you go to the store and you buy your hamburger and your bacon and whatnot, it really starts to add up. And the midterms aren't that far away. I see a historic, and my husband, who is quite the analyst, he sees a historic problem for the Democrats. And I think he's probably onto something. You can only play the blame game so long when you're president of the United States. He doesn't have to be Truman-esque with the buck stops here, but he's got to take some responsibility for his actions.
Lisa K. Dunner, thank you ever so much.
Thanks, Mark.
Later in the show, we're delving deep into constitutional waters on our special Talking Liberty segment. But up next, we sift fact from fiction on the rising gas prices. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
We're doing it for real, really real. Liberty Nation.
And Jeff Charles, contributor for
I think
LibertyNation.com.
we're starting to make an impact. Liberty style, fight for freedom.
Daily tracking polls sponsored by Liberty Nation for
Guess what?
Thursday.
Mentioned by Dan Bongino, Rasmussen, Jordan Peterson, and
I
others.
can do it again if you want me to.
Cited in Mark Levin's American Marxism.
I think we're starting to make a really big impact. Getting noticed. We're doing it. Rock on. I'm gone.